Today we're looking at lessons 3-4, 3-5, and 3-6 for a pre-algebra quiz review. We're going to do 3/7 divided by 4/10. So we have 3/7, that stays the same. Then we are multiplying by the reciprocal or the multiplicative inverse. So we flip the second fraction. We can't cross simplify, so we're just going to multiply the numerators and then multiply the denominators. And we can simplify that by dividing by 2, and that will give us our answer. The next one, -4/5 divided by 1/5. We're keeping -4/5 the same, times 5/1. We can cross simplify the 5's by dividing both by 5, and then we multiply the numerators and the denominators to get -4. Next one, 2 1/3 divided by 5/8. So we make both improper fractions if that's necessary, so 7/3, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, 8/5. We can't cross simplify, so we multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators, and this is our answer. And the last division one, 2 3/7 divided by -1 2/5. Make them both improper. And then we flip the second one. Then we multiply. And we can't cross simplify, so we get -5 times 17, which gives us 85, -85, and 7 times 7, which gives us 49. And that's all we can do. Here it's a word problem, so we need to figure out what we're doing, what operation we're doing with these fractions. So Evan's cookie recipe calls for 3½ cups of flour. He has a 4-pound sack of flour, that's 20 cups. So how many batches of cookies can he make with that 4-pound sack? Well, if we have a total of 20 cups and we need 3 1/2 cups for each batch, that means we're going to divide 20 divided by 3½ So we make them both fractions. It's a 7. And then we need to flip the second one. We can't cross simplify, so we just multiply the numerators over the denominator, and we get 40/7. Next one, we're adding like terms or like fractions, meaning they have the same denominator, so we don't need to get a common denominator. We would just add the numerators and bring the common denominator with it. And we can't simplify that anymore, so that would be our answer. And then we can subtract also like fractions, which again we're just subtracting the numerators, so 9 minus 14, and bringing the denominator along. And neither one of these could be simplified, so that's our final answer. Then we have 5 3/8 plus 2 5/8. You're going to change both of these into improper first. And then we add our numerators and bring our denominator along. And we can't simplify that anymore, so we leave it as 63/8. And the last subtraction problem with like terms, we have 9 10/9 minus 2 over 9, which gives us 8 over 9. Here we have another word problem. This says Carson is keeping a record of the number of inches of rain that falls each day. On June 1st, it rained 2 1/10 inches. On June 2nd, it rained 9/10 inches. What was the total rainfall for both days? So we're going to add 2 1/10 plus 9/10. We change our first one to an improper fraction. We already have a common denominator. So we add the numerators and keep the denominator. And that simplifies to 3. So 3 inches in both days. The next section we're going to look at is adding and subtracting with unlike fractions. So we need a common denominator. So 2/5 plus 5/6. Common denominator here would be 30. So we multiply each part to make the denominators 30. And that gives us 12 over 30 plus 25 over 30. And then we follow what we have been doing and keep the denominator and just add the numerators. And we can't simplify, so we leave it like that. The next one, subtracting. We also need common denominators here. We could have a common denominator of 4. So that means we change the first one to have a common denominator of 4, which gives us 2/4 minus 3/4. So we take the numerators, subtract, and keep the 4th as the denominator. So negative 1/4 is our answer. The next one we have is 3 1/4 plus 1 1/8. Change them both to improper first. And then get a common denominator. So a common denominator could be 2. A common denominator could be 8, so I multiply by 2. And then I need to add the numerators and keep my denominator. So that would be my final answer. And every time I have a final answer, always check to make sure that you can't simplify it anymore. Next one, 5/9 plus 5 1/2. We're going to change the 5 1/2 to improper, then get a common denominator. When in doubt, you can always just multiply the numbers by themselves. So 2 times 9 gives us 18 as a common denominator. And whenever I multiply the denominator, I also multiply that same number by the numerator. So I'm adding those two together to give me 109 over 18. And that's as much as I can simplify. The next one, 2 3/4 plus 4 2/3. We need to make both improper. And then common denominator would be 12 and then we keep the denominator but add the numerators, and that's all we can do. And the next one, 4 1/10 minus 3 2/5. We need a common denominator of 10. So the first one stays the same since it's already 10. And we get 7 over 10. The next one, 6 5/8 minus 5/12. Change it to an improper fraction. Oops. Oh, that's right, 48. oops, having trouble adding there, 53 over 8 minus 5/12. I would make this a common denominator of 24 to try and keep the numbers a little bit smaller. So we have 10 over 24 and 159 over 24. So that gives us 149 over 24, and that's as much as we can simplify. The last one, 5 2/5 minus 4 5/6. Make them both improper. Find a common denominator. So we get 162 over 30 and 145 over 30. If we subtract, that's going to give us 17 over 30, which we can't simplify. And now we have two word problems. The first one, we have Zoe needs 2/5 of a length of board to build a birdhouse. If she has 6 boards, how many birdhouses can she make? So this one we're going to be dividing. 6 divided by 2/5. So that means we make them both fractions and we multiply by the reciprocal. We can cross simplify here, divide by 2, and we should get 15 over 1 or 15 birdhouses. And the last word problem we have, now we have Takeem needs 2 5/8 yards of elastic for a sewing project. If he cuts this amount from a piece of elastic that is 3.5 yards long, what length will the remaining piece be? So now we take our total 3.5 yards and we have to subtract the cutting part, 2 5/8. So we make these both into improper fractions, get a common denominator, and then we subtract our numerators and keep our denominator. So if we subtract our numerators, keep our denominator, we get 7/8 left of elastic. And that concludes our quiz review for lessons 3-4, 3-5, and 3-6. You will see most of these types of problems on your quiz tomorrow. I've tried to do an example problem of each type of problem you'll see. So if you watch this video and you think that you did well in understanding, then you'll probably do well tomorrow.